Elon Musk is one of the most polarizing people on Earth. Depending on who you ask, he is either a visionary who is dragging humanity into the future whether it wants to go or not, or a cautionary tale about what happens when unchecked power meets an underdeveloped sense of obligation to other people. Both of those things might be true at the same time. But here is what I want to talk to you about today, something that gets almost no serious attention in all the coverage of Elon Musk. The people around him, biographers, commentators, popular philosophy writers, routinely describe him in Stoic terms. His behavior at SpaceX, his approach to failure, his stated indifference to public opinion have all been analyzed through a Stoic lens. Ryan Holiday, one of the most widely read Stoic writers today, has written about Musk, though notably, in his most recent work, as a cautionary tale rather than a model. The question of what Musk gets right and wrong about Stoic practice is genuinely open. That's what this video is about. He has referenced philosophy in interviews. He has described his decision-making in terms that overlap with Stoic principles. Whether or not he would call himself a Stoic, the framework is being applied to him, and the application is worth examining honestly. And here's the thing, he's not wrong. In specific, documentable ways, Elon Musk applies Stoic philosophy with remarkable precision. The SpaceX approach to failure, the way he frames risk, the personal financial exposure he has repeatedly taken on. These are not marketing. They are genuine applications of something the Stoics called Premeditatio malorum. But here is what almost nobody says, and what this video is going to say clearly. Stoicism is not a half philosophy. You cannot apply the parts that serve you, the resilience, the risk tolerance, the willingness to be misunderstood, and set aside the parts that challenge you. The parts about obligation, the parts about justice, the parts about what the Stoics called Oikeiōsis, your expanding duty to the community around you. When you do that, when you take the strength of Stoicism without its demands, you are not practicing Stoicism. You are practicing something that looks like Stoicism from the outside, but functions as its own justification from the inside. Today I'm going to walk you through 3 things Elon Musk genuinely gets right about Stoicism, and 3 things he gets catastrophically wrong. And then, more importantly, I'm going to show you how to use this analysis on yourself. Because here's the uncomfortable truth that this video is really about. Every single one of us does what Musk does. We apply the philosophy we claim to live by selectively, embracing the parts that empower us, quietly setting aside the parts that demand something of us. The Stoics had a specific practice for catching yourself doing this, and it is the most important practice in this entire series. Let's get into it. Before we analyze, we need to be honest about what he actually gets right. I want to start with a genuine argument for Elon Musk as a Stoic practitioner, because the case is real, and dismissing it would be dishonest. Stoicism is not a philosophy of comfort. It is a philosophy of deliberate engagement with difficulty, the deliberate visualization of worst-case scenarios, the deliberate exposure of oneself to risk and hardship, the deliberate cultivation of resilience not as a personality trait, but as a practiced discipline. By those standards, there are specific things Musk has done, documented, verifiable things that align with Stoic practice more authentically than most people who call themselves Stoics. Let's look at 3 of them. 3 things Musk gets right, where the Stoic framework is genuinely present. Right number 1, Premeditatio malorum, SpaceX and the practice of premeditated failure. Premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This is one of the oldest and most specific Stoic practices, the deliberate, systematic visualization of everything that could go wrong before you act, so that failure arrives as something you have already prepared for rather than something that destroys you. Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day." The Stoic who practices premeditatio malorum is not a pessimist. They are a realist who has pre-processed the downside so that when it arrives, it does not paralyze them. Now look at what SpaceX actually did. SpaceX's early rocket program failed publicly, expensively, and catastrophically 3 times before the Falcon 1 succeeded on its 4th launch in 2008. 3 rockets exploded. In a culture where failure is considered career-ending, Musk had structured SpaceX specifically to absorb and learn from failure at a rate that no government space program would allow. He has said explicitly, failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough. That is Premeditatio malorum as organizational design. More specifically, when SpaceX was developing the Falcon 9 reusable rocket, the landing leg technology that allows rockets to return and be reused, the team built in an explicit assumption that early attempts would fail. They filmed the failures. They publicized the explosions. They treated each failure not as a crisis, but as a data point in a pre-visualized scenario. The Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum does not just mean be prepared for bad things. It means actively design your process around the assumption that bad things will happen, so that the cognitive and emotional cost of failure is prepaid. And what remains is only the learning. SpaceX's iterative launch cadence is one of the most visible applications of this practice in modern business. And it is genuinely Stoic. Right number 2. Amor fati, the $180 million bet in 2008. In 2008, during the global financial crisis, when both SpaceX and Tesla were simultaneously on the verge of collapse, Elon Musk made a decision that is genuinely difficult to explain without reference to something like Stoic philosophy. He had approximately $180 million from the sale of his earlier companies. Both SpaceX and Tesla needed capital to survive. He split the remaining money between them. Not the money he could afford to lose. All of it. He sold his car. He borrowed money from friends for living expenses. Walter Isaacson, in his biography of Musk, describes this period. He was vomiting from stress, unable to sleep, managing 2 companies simultaneously on the edge of bankruptcy, and he kept going. The Stoic concept here is not just resilience. The closest Stoic concept to what Musk demonstrated in 2008 is what Marcus Aurelius describes across the Meditations as the complete acceptance of what is, including what is painful, as the necessary condition of meaningful action. Nietzsche would later name this quality amor fati, love of fate, drawing from this same Stoic tradition. The distinction matters. The Stoics didn't romanticize suffering. They accepted it as the price of the life they chose to live. Marcus Aurelius. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. The 2008 version of Musk, not the billionaire, not the culture war figure, but the man with nothing left who kept building anyway, is the version that most authentically embodies this Stoic quality. The Stoics did not preach recklessness. They preached the acceptance of risk as a condition of meaningful action. And in 2008, Musk's acceptance of complete financial ruin as the price of continuing was, by any honest reading, an application of this principle. Right number 3, the dichotomy of control, ignoring critics of the mission. Epictetus, the freed slave who built the most rigorous epistemology of self-determination in the ancient world, wrote, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." The Stoic dichotomy of control distinguishes between what is hemen, up to us, within our power, and what is hemen, not up to us, outside our power. The Stoic practice is to concentrate your energy entirely on the former and release your emotional attachment to the latter. Musk's relationship with public opinion about the missions themselves, the Mars colonization project, the reusable rocket program, the transition to electric vehicles at scale, displays something that genuinely resembles this practice. When NASA engineers and aerospace industry veterans said reusable orbital rockets were impossible, Musk continued. When the financial press repeatedly declared Tesla would fail, he continued. When the scientific consensus he disagreed with on rocket reusability, on battery technology, on solar energy cost curves was being loudly cited against him, he concentrated on the engineering and released the opinion. This is not stubbornness in the ordinary sense. It is a specific cognitive discipline, the deliberate refusal to let external judgment, which is not in your control, drive your decisions about the work, which is. Whether or not you agree with Musk's specific goals, the underlying discipline here is Stoic. He had a clear internal criterion for progress. Does the rocket land? Does the battery cost decrease? And he did not substitute external validation. Does the press approve? For that internal criterion, That is the dichotomy of control, practiced at scale. So, 3 genuine applications of Stoic practice. Documented, verifiable, real. Now, here is where it gets complicated. Because Stoicism is not a menu. You do not get to choose 3 items and leave the rest. And what Musk has left, what he has systematically not applied, is not a minor footnote in Stoic philosophy. It is, by the Stoic's own account, the most important part. The Stoic framework he's missing, the half of Stoicism that never makes it into tech culture. Here is what most modern appropriations of Stoicism, in Silicon Valley, in leadership culture, in the self-help industrial complex, consistently miss. Stoicism is not a philosophy of individual optimization. It is a philosophy of individual optimization in service of the community. Those 2 things are not the same, and the difference between them is not a detail. It is the entire moral architecture of the philosophy. The Stoics had a concept called Oikeiōsis. It translates roughly as appropriation or affiliation, the natural process by which a rational being comes to recognize their connection to others and gradually extends their circle of concern. The Stoics believe that as humans become more rational, they recognize that other people are also rational beings with whom they share a common nature. This recognition leads to what the Stoics called our natural duty, not just to ourselves, but to our family, our community, our fellow citizens, and ultimately to all of humanity. Marcus Aurelius writes directly about this in Meditations. What harms the hive cannot help the bee. And Cicero, drawing from the same Stoic tradition, wrote, "We are not born for ourselves alone." The Stoic doctrine of Oikeiōsis holds that we have a natural tendency to care for others. At first our family and friends, and ultimately our fellow citizens and fellow human beings. This is not a soft addition to Stoic philosophy. It is one of its foundational claims about what it means to be a rational human being living in accordance with nature. The Stoics also had a concept of cosmopolitanism, the idea that all rational beings are citizens of a universal community governed by shared reason. This is not vague altruism. It is a specific claim that your obligations do not end at the boundary of your company, your nation, or the group of people you find useful. Marcus Aurelius, governing an empire, took this seriously in specific ways. He enacted legal protections for orphans, slaves, and women that were unusual for his era, not because they were efficient, but because his philosophical framework told him that his obligations extended to those with less power, not just to those who could benefit his mission. This is the Stoicism that never makes it into the business section. And this is precisely where Musk's application of the philosophy breaks down. 3 things Musk gets catastrophically wrong, where the Stoic framework is absent, and what the Stoics would actually say. Wrong number 1, the missing oikeiōsis, employees as resources, not rational beings. In October and November 2022, Musk acquired Twitter and, within weeks, laid off approximately 6,500 employees, roughly 80% of the company's workforce. The layoffs themselves are not the issue. Restructuring is sometimes necessary. The Stoics were not naive about difficult decisions. The issue is the manner in which it was done, and what that manner reveals about the philosophical framework actually operating. Employees were told to stay home and wait for an email. The process was so abrupt that some employees received incorrect layoff notifications. The company was accused of violating the WARN Act, the federal law requiring 60 days notice before mass layoffs. Janitors were let go without notice. The company's trust and safety team was reduced so dramatically that one person was left to cover all child sexual abuse material reporting in the Asia-Pacific region. When asked about the human cost of the layoffs, Musk said, "This is not a caring or uncaring situation. It's like, if the whole ship sinks, then nobody's got a job." That framing is instructive. It is a version of the Stoic logic. The mission matters. The outcome matters. Individuals are variables in the equation. But this is precisely where the Stoic framework rejects the conclusion Musk draws. The Stoics were not utilitarians. They did not believe that the right outcome justifies any means of getting there. They believed that how you treat people, especially people with less power than you, is not a variable in the mission calculus. It is a direct expression of your virtue. which is the only thing the Stoics considered genuinely valuable. Epictetus, who had himself been a slave, wrote specifically about the obligations of those with power toward those without it. His entire philosophy is built on the premise that rational beings deserve to be treated as ends in themselves, not as instruments of someone else's goal. The Stoic doctrine of Oikeiōsis holds that our understanding of self-interest should eventually encompass the well-being of others, as the well-being of others contributes to the well-being of the community, of which we are a part. The whole ship sinks is not Stoic reasoning. It is the logic of someone who has taken the Stoic tools of personal resilience and applied them to the question of other people's lives, using their own capacity for tolerating difficulty as a template for how they expect others to absorb the consequences of decisions made far above them. That is not Oikeiōsis. It is its absence. Wrong number 2. The missing justice. Virtue is not selective. The Stoics identified 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. These are not 4 separate qualities that a person can possess in different proportions. The Stoics held that the virtues are unified, that genuine possession of one requires possession of all. A person who is courageous but unjust is not a courageous person in the Stoic sense. They are a person who has a quality that resembles courage but serves a different master. This is directly relevant to Musk. The courage that Musk displays in his approach to engineering risk, the willingness to lose everything on a mission he believes in, the refusal to be paralyzed by the possibility of failure, is a genuine quality. Nobody serious disputes this. But Stoic courage is not courage in the service of the self or the mission alone. It is courage in the service of justice, including the justice of how you treat people who depend on you. Tesla has faced a mountain of allegations regarding unsafe working conditions and racial discrimination within the past decade, much of them involving its Fremont, California, manufacturing facility. Tesla settled a discrimination case that resulted in 2 separate jury trial verdicts in favor of suing employees. The pattern here is specific. Musk displays remarkable courage when the risk is financial or reputational, and the beneficiary of that courage is his mission. He displays significantly less of what the Stoics would recognize as courage when the risk is to his own interests and the beneficiary would be workers, employees, or others with less power. The Stoics would say, this is not a partial virtue. It is a quality that resembles virtue but is not yet virtue, because it has not been tested in the direction that is most costly to the person who claims to hold it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." The Stoic standard is not, if it serves the mission. It is it right? Full stop, regardless of what it costs you. That standard does not make exceptions for large ambitions. Wrong number 3. The missing cosmopolitanism, the hive and the bee. There is a third dimension of Stoic philosophy that is almost completely absent from the public version of Musk's worldview, and it is perhaps the most fundamental. The Stoics were cosmopolitans in the deepest philosophical sense. They believed that all rational beings share a common nature, a common reason, and that this shared nature creates mutual obligations that transcend any particular organization, mission, or nation. Marcus Aurelius emphasizes that all rational beings are citizens of a cosmopolis, a universal city governed by divine reason. Hierocles wrote that people have concentric circles of concern, beginning with themselves and expanding to their relatives, friends, citizens, countrymen, and finally to mankind as a whole. As we grow, our task is to draw these circles inward, to begin treating strangers as friends as family. This is not just an abstract philosophical position. It has specific implications for how a person with enormous power and resources deploys that power. The Stoic cosmopolitan does not ask, "How do I optimize my mission?" They ask, "What does my reason tell me I owe to the community that exists around my mission, including the people who are affected by it and the social fabric through which it operates?" Musk's stated mission, making humanity multiplanetary, is, in one framing, the largest cosmopolitan project in human history, an attempt to extend the survival of the human species itself. But the Stoics would ask a different question. Does the way you pursue this mission express the obligations you have to the human community that currently exists? because a project that aims to benefit all of humanity in the abstract, but treats actual humans in the present as instruments to be optimized around, is not a cosmopolitan project. It is a personal project with cosmopolitan ambitions. The bee cannot help the hive by disregarding the hive. What this analysis is actually about, and the practice it generates. I want to be precise about what this analysis does and does not claim. It does not claim that Elon Musk is a bad person. It does not take a political position on his decisions at Twitter, Tesla, or anywhere else. Reasonable people disagree about the trade-offs involved in large organizational decisions, and this video is not going to resolve those disagreements. What it claims is philosophically specific. A person who applies Stoic resilience, Stoic risk tolerance, and Stoic focus on what is in their control, while systematically not applying Stoic obligations to the community, Stoic justice toward those with less power, and Stoic cosmopolitanism in the deployment of their influence, is not practicing Stoicism. They are practicing a selective version of Stoicism that functions as a justification for doing what they were going to do anyway. And the Stoics were extraordinarily clear that this is what philosophy most often becomes in the hands of the powerful. Seneca, who struggled his entire life with this exact tension, serving at the court of Nero while writing about virtue, put it this way: the first thing philosophy promises us is the feeling of fellowship, of belonging to mankind and being members of a community. Not efficiency, not mission success. Fellowship, belonging, the recognition that we are not separate from the people around us. We are part of them. Common sense, humanity, fellowship, not efficiency, not mission success, not the ability to absorb failure and keep going. Those things matter, but they are not the philosophy. They are tools that the philosophy gives you. The philosophy is the commitment to living in accordance with virtue, including the virtues that cost you something. The mirror question. Now, here is the part that matters for you personally, because I said at the beginning that this video is really about something else. Every person who claims a philosophy, Stoicism, or any other framework they use to guide their decisions, has a version of this problem. We apply the philosophy to the decisions where it empowers us. We quietly set it aside for the decisions where it demands something of us. The Stoic name for this is self-deception, and Marcus Aurelius considered it the most dangerous failure mode in human life, more dangerous than external enemies, more dangerous than failure, more dangerous than loss. He writes, "The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are." Look things in the face, know them for what they are. The practice this video generates is not about Elon Musk. It is about you. It is the practice of applying your philosophy to the decisions where it costs you something, not just the ones where it empowers you. Daily practice. The self-examination that closes the gap. The Stoics had a specific practice for catching the gap between the philosophy you claim and the philosophy you actually live. It is the evening examination, which we have discussed in earlier episodes, but applied tonight with one specific question. Where did I apply my values selectively today? Not, where did I succeed? Not, where did I fail? Where did I apply the principles I claim to hold to the situations where those principles empowered me, and quietly not apply them to the situations where those principles would have cost me something? The manager who talks about respecting people's time and then scheduled a meeting that could have been an email, because their time is more important than others. The person who talks about honesty and told the truth when it was comfortable and softened it when it wasn't. The leader who talks about vision and mission and held themselves to a high standard on the mission and a lower standard on how the mission was pursued. Every one of us has a version of this. The Stoic practice is not to eliminate the gap. The gap is human. The practice is to see it clearly, name it honestly, and narrow it by 1 degree tomorrow. Marcus Aurelius did this every day for 20 years. He was emperor of Rome. He had every reason to exempt himself from his own philosophy. He did not. That is the examined life. I want to end with something that might be the most honest thing in this video. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic writers in history, spent much of his life as an advisor to Nero. He was extraordinarily wealthy. He wrote brilliantly about the corrupting influence of money and power. He struggled. visibly and painfully, with the gap between the philosophy he taught and the life he lived. Recede in te ipsi. He wrote to Lucilius, withdraw into yourself. Not as escape, but as examination. And the very first thing philosophy promises, he said, is the feeling of fellowship, of belonging to mankind and being members of a community. Not wisdom achieved, a direction pursued. That is all any of us can honestly claim. The video I've made today is not about Elon Musk being a hypocrite. Every person who claims a philosophy and lives inside human limitations is a hypocrite in some sense. The question is whether you are willing to see the gap, or whether you have constructed a version of the philosophy that makes the gap invisible. Musk has constructed a version of Stoicism that is genuinely useful for building rockets and absorbing failure and sustaining mission focus under extraordinary pressure. He has not yet, by any public evidence, applied it to the question of what he owes the people most affected by his decisions. That is the gap. And the reason I've spent 30 minutes analyzing it is not to judge him. It is because every person watching this video has their own version of that gap. The philosophy you claim to live by. The specific situations where you have quietly not applied it. The Stoic practice is simply this. Look at that gap. Name it. Don't look away. That is the examined life. And the examined life, as Socrates said, is the only one worth living. I'll see you in the next one.